Welcome back to another Warhammer 40K video brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. We are reviewing books on this channel, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
The Sound Alchemist
and Docile Creature.
Now, we are all reading the Primarch series from the Black Library, and we're starting with Angron, Slave of Nuceria. And what we want to do for this episode is give you guys our take as to what we think Angron is, or what he's like before reading the book. So then after, we'll come after.
Yeah, so basically these Primarch novels are going to show you how the Primarch develops into their, I guess, theme, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because we all know Angron is all about, like, blood, corn, murder. But how did it get to become that way?
Yeah, so like right now we have the background of the Codex, and that's pretty much it, right? And like whatever we see online on the wiki.
Not just that, but the models do an amazing portrayal of showing you who they are. Because when you see the 30K model of Angron, dude's a beast.
Yeah, he looks cool. So what do you guys think of Angron right now? Like, what is your character sheet?
So right now, I know that Angron is going to be in a state of just hatred, because obviously we know his life in the gladiatorial arena, and we know that the Emperor picked him up and basically allowed him to live where the rest of his gladiatorial family was eviscerated. So he's already pissed off because of that, and I want to see how that anger goes to further his characterization in these books.
It's important to note, too, that we are talking about pre-heresy Angron, because that's what the book covers. So from my understanding of who Angron was when he got picked up, I think you hit the nail on the head of just anger.
The butcher's nail.
The butcher's nails, yeah, on the back of the head. He is someone who embodies anger, but at the same time, because it's pre-heresy, I feel it's the more chivalrous form of anger. Yeah. That honor, almost like the movie, any Gladiator movie. So Gladiator, or even the Hulk, when he is the Gladiator, that kind of concept of he's a protector. He's all about his boys, and he's out there. He's like a WWE like fighting dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my perspective, I know that Angron has the tragic backstory and kind of like the backstory that makes us from the outside think like, what the fuck was the Emperor thinking, like handling Angron this way, like in the worst possible way. Like that's pretty much all I know about Angron, is he has a super tragic not relatable backstory, but like one that makes you feel for him.
Yeah.
And then I know in 40K he's just like super boring. So I'm excited to read this book, because this is when, in my opinion, Angron is the most exciting, and he actually is a character and not just like this frothing anger monster.
Yeah.
So
definitely a victim, I would say.
Yeah.
I see him as a victim of like you said, the Emperor really fucked him over by rescuing him, but dooming all of the rest of his soldiers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the book is going to cover that stuff. Well, I should say I know that the book isn't going to cover, or actually
the aftermath of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or even just the actual him on the planet. So him being a child, or what would you call it? Because the Primarchs were children for like, what, 3 months, and then they just were full-blown adults.
Yeah, they really grow to maturity very rapidly, and then they just like adapt and become monsters at like combat, warfare, knowledge, tactics, that kind of thing.
So I hope the book explores that. That's something that I'm really looking forward to. Yeah.
So this is our takes from the past. Now let's jump into the warp and go into the future, where we meet our future selves who have read the book.
So we've already read the book. I was not disappointed by the book, but it has changed my perception of who Angron is. So let's get into a little bit of that, because I think he's like a child. He's somebody that should. I think we said it a lot during the podcast when we were reviewing each individual chapters. It baffles me why the Emperor would trust someone like that to lead an entire legion. Yes, he's a Primarch, but how did the Emperor not see that this dude's not okay?
It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good idea to put him in charge of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's his fault necessarily.
Yeah. Like,
Angron was never meant to be this like guy that he currently is.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to be the warrior he was on Nuceria. True. Leading others to the charge, almost putting himself in front of danger to protect his fellow, warriors. And I think it's just this whole PTSD and this whole anger that has just corrupted him to the point where he can't think or do of anything else.
So now that we've read the entire book, do you think that Angron's inability to lead his legion is because of the butcher's nails, because the emperor basically took him away in like a very crucial moment, or is it because of all the trauma that he faced being a slave in the arenas?
For me, I think it's the first two, both. Because the butcher's nails changed his whole personality, basically flipped it 180.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be good. It turns him into a rage beast. But the emperor doing him dirty like that is not going to make even a normal Angron like the emperor and like want to serve the emperor in any way. So I think both of them are strikes against Angron from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's the whole nature versus nurture debate where like due to his surroundings, he was just put in bad like instances over and over and over again, and I think that's what led to his downfall.
How much of the emperor do you think is to blame of just like not trying to remove the butcher's nails, or at least like, I don't know.
I think it's interesting because in most stories like this, we only see one side of the story, and that's from Angron's perspective. I wonder if a perspective from the emperor would change our minds of how shitty he was. Like, did he have a reason that we just don't know? Or, because it seems not out of character, but like weird writing to just say the emperor was shitty to Angron because we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, for some reason he did this really awful thing to Angron. It makes me think that there's probably some reason that he did what he did the way that he did it.
And I'm bummed out that the book didn't cover this, because if this is an Angron-specific book, you would want to know a little bit more about the rebellion that he supposedly created, and then also his abduction from his homeworld of Nuceria. So, yeah, I think you're right. Like, we would... Because, like, you even think of, like, Lehman Russ. The Emperor had time to sit with Lehman Russ and go through, like, 3 different trials or some shit before he, like, took him from...
Yeah, they were having a feast. He was drinking mead and stuff like that.
But they didn't do it to Angron. So
I think the Emperor knew that he needed a rage beast, like you called him. Like, let's take this guy that has a bunch of pent-up anger and just point him at the enemy. And I think that was his plan. That's why he didn't do anything with the butcher's nails. That's why he didn't do anything to kind of restrain Angron from having this really horrible upbringing. It's like, yeah, he could go in there, talk to the slavers, maybe buy him out, and buy his other gladiators, and become Space Marines. But instead he's like, nah, let me make this guy relive like the worst part of his life over and over again by making him hate me.
So do you think he knew that, though? You
I
think the
think
Emperor
so.
knew that? Yeah.
The Emperor has like precognition, like it's implied that everything that the Primarchs have, they got it from the Emperor.
Yeah.
So obviously Lehman Russ is supposed to be the Emperor's executioner, but he needed something more than that, like the Emperor's berserker, and I think that's what Angron was.
But if the emperor knew about the Chaos Gods, why would he want someone that perfectly fit Khorne? Like, why would he encourage something like that?
Or maybe it's... Because, again, we don't know the story yet. I thought the Horus Heresy would cover it, but apparently it hasn't, right?
I've barely scratched the surface of the Horus Heresy, so...
But maybe the point is that the Emperor saw, oh no, this guy's already been tainted by chaos. Because from the very beginning, like when he fought the Psyker, that scene, and we talked about it in the podcast, it was just like there's a symbol on the ground. It could be Khorne, or it just could be chaos, but maybe the Emperor detected like, oh, damn, another one that's fucked up by the Chaos Gods or whatever. And instead of doing what he did to the Lost Legions... by just eradicating them, maybe he was like, like you said, he's going to be an attack dog, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, a berserker, I should say.
Right, but it doesn't make sense, honestly. That's what we can all agree on. The Emperor didn't really have a means to kind of point that anger anywhere. He just kind of let it fester in Angron.
Yeah.
He let Angron spread it to the entire Legion.
Yeah.
True.
Which... it's just too much is going for the side of chaos that the Emperor could have easily intervened and nothing happened.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Do you see Demon Primarch Angron any better now?
I think my view on Angron hasn't really changed at all.
Yeah.
Like, I knew, but going into this, I knew he had a bad backstory, and like, but he was just a monster, like, not good. and this didn't really change anything for me. Gave me an insight into what the tragic backstory is and like what Angron could have been. But at the end of the day, he's still just like a shitty Primarch that's all about anger and like doesn't have a ton of character arc left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one big theme that followed Angron throughout his entire life, even now in his godhood, is he's been a slave his whole life.
True.
Slave on Nuceria, slave to the Imperium, and now he's a slave to Khorne. It's like no matter what, he cannot gain this freedom that he was trying so hard to gain during the whole slavery and gladiatorial games. Even when the Emperor came to kind of lift him up from this bad upbringing, this, torturous early life of Angron, he still became a slave to the Imperium and his father to kind of fight for him when that wasn't what he wanted to do. And his way of rebellion was to gain quote-unquote freedom through the dark gods, and he just became a slave to Horus and then a slave again to Khorne at the very end of it.
I feel like all of these Traitor Primarch stories are going to do they're going to paint the Primarchs as like tragic tales. And I actually do see Angron differently now as a demon because of what you just said, like the whole concept of he's a slave. He's not this badass like demon with wings that looks like the devil. He's a slave to Khorne, and he's always been a slave. So it's almost like you pity a world leader player because it's like your leader is shit.
It's just like a beast.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, it makes me think, does Demon Primarch have those moments of clarity like his pre-demon form did? Because I haven't read a lot of lore on Demon Angron, but it doesn't seem like he does. He seems like he's just like a crazed murder beast now at all times, which is super lame.
Yeah.
There was a small instance where you kind of get true Angron's feeling when he's fighting Sanguinius towards like the end of the heresy. But it's just like a fleeting moment. Like Sanguinius sees like remorse or like regret in the eyes of Angron, and then that like Butcher's Nails kicks in, and it's just rage again.
No, but I mean, it's interesting. I enjoyed the book.
Me too.
I hope the rest of the books are similar, even though I think they won't be.
I think there's going to be hit and miss, right?
Yeah,
Because they're all different. Well, there's different authors that take on different ones.
Yeah, and not just that, but like each Primarch has different traits, different attributes that make them unique. So it's very interesting to see how we'll go from this roid beast of Angron to a scholar of knowledge for Magnus.
Yeah. Another thing too is that yes, Angron is all about soldiers, martial prowess, and all that kind of stuff. So, as a 40K player who is playing out a battle on the tabletop, of course you want to hear about warriors, and that's what Angron's story is. With the other guys, we'll see what happens.
And it should be interesting seeing how each different perspective, because each Primarch had a role, like, is colored over a warrior. Because at the end of the day, they're all like warriors and like battle commanders, some way better than others.
Yeah.
But like Magnus, who we'll be covering next, is like a wizard, sorcerer, magic-y warrior. So it'd be cool to see how each Primarch has their different flavor of like sneaky warrior and like torture-y warrior and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because like I was expecting going into this to be like 80% Angron and then 20% like his Legion, but no, it was like a huge chunk of it was mostly his Legion. So it's interesting to see if we'll get that with Magnus, with Ahriman and the sorcerers and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm excited. Like this Primarch novels that we're going to be going through, which you guys should check out through Audible, is going to be a real eye-opener for people that are mostly accustomed to just playing the tabletop. Because now you're adding lore, flavor, personality to the models on the field.
Yeah, I think if anybody is going to read these books, they should understand that I think your perception of the Primarch is going to change from just like a character with no kind of arc. You definitely see their arc.
And you might be surprised at who you end up liking. Like, I didn't expect to like Karn this much, and I read other Horus Heresy books. I didn't expect to like Lorgar and like the Word Bearers much because they're always get the shit end of the stick in the community, I feel. But who knows? You might read the books and find a character that you particularly relate to or something like that. And it's interesting journey.
Yeah. So if you guys have any suggestions for character focused books that you guys would like us to read, let us know in the comment section below, and then we'll give you guys a before and after of our thoughts on the characters.
Yeah, that's right, guys. So as always, let's keep the conversation going down in the comments. Share this to all your buddies who have read or haven't read it to kind of get them to dive into the lore, the novels of Warhammer 40K and 30K.
And don't forget to check out the Audible subscription down in the comment section below.
That's right. A free audiobook could be yours just like that. So as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist here with
Gersh 1.
And Dassault Creature.
and we are signing out.